Somebody finally said it. Drew Gooden just put out a video called The Online Gambling Epidemic, where he talked about topics that I've been screaming into a void about for the last 2 years on this channel. We are on the brink of a massive mental health crisis in the United States, and it's gonna stem from the increase in gambling addiction. I wanna show you some of his video, because you aren't going to believe what the casino industry and the people profiting from gambling are doing to get you hooked and keep you playing.
Ads for sports betting have become inescapable. Even if you muted every commercial and closed your eyes until the game came back on, it's still plastered everywhere. DraftKings promos pop up in the middle of a play, there's BetMGM billboards behind home plate, FanDuel logos on the court, on the microphone.
You know, I've done a couple of videos where I went out and I tried to count the number of gambling ads at a stadium, and it was just so many that it became ridiculous, and I couldn't even finish it. It was hard to even keep track of it, but he's 100% right.
You from every angle, pepper spraying you in the face so you don't notice they just pulled your pants down. They've made it so watching sports and betting on sports are just two sides of the same coin. Like, you can't have one without the other.
It's literally becoming like to the point where if you're not gambling on sports, you're seen as a weirdo. You're seen as the weird one. And I hate that, because growing up, I loved to watch sports. It was a big part of my friends and my family. And now everywhere you look is gambling. If you're not gambling on the sport, why are you even there? Is the question people are starting to ask.
Become so normalized that it might be easy to forget that gambling can be kind of bad, actually. About 10 million people in the US alone struggle with gambling in some way, a good portion of which are under the age of 25. Gambling addicts attempt suicide at a rate 15 times higher than the general population.
1 in 5 gambling addicts will attempt suicide as a result of their gambling. 1 in 5. That's 20%. Imagine if 20 people that were struggling with literally anything else were committing suicide at this rate. It would be a national public health crisis. But with gambling, they're like, I can't prove it was gambling, right? It's ridiculous.
The average debt of a gambling addict can range from $15,000 to $90,000. But where most people would see this as a problem, a few people saw it as an opportunity. All that extra money that could be siphoned from struggling families and into the pockets of like 12 CEOs. And we're not doing that because... So in 2018, the Supreme Court overruled the federal ban on sports betting. And since then, Americans have collectively lost over $245 billion on it. That's
And it's estimated that Americans are going to lose $1 trillion of their wealth to gambling over the next 4 years.
almost $1,000 per person, and that number was from last year. But the bombardment of playful advertising filled with famous celebrities would make you think it's just a harmless, fun game you can play on your phone. Kevin Hart, Post Malone, Chris Rock, LeBron James, Kevin Hart, Peyton Manning, Jamie Foxx, Eric Andre, Patton Oswalt, Vanessa Hudgens, the guy from that Kendrick Lamar song, Kevin Hart. Even the Talk Tua podcast is sponsored by Better. Why is it always the people you trust the most?
It's his buddy. He keeps pointing out Kevin Hart. That dude is everywhere. He's in every commercial, and he's been pushing DraftKings for a long time now. But it's ridiculous. And all these celebrities are going to have this aura about them in a couple of years where they're going to be like, damn, I'm sorry that I was doing that commercial. I didn't realize how much damage I was causing. We're going to see a lot of forced public apologies when it comes to gambling. That's my prediction, at least.
You don't need to know everything about every sport.
Good, because I don't.
Yeah, me either. All you need is a feeling and a phone.
Oh my gosh, I want
That is such a bold way to advertise your product. You don't have to know anything about sports in order to bet on them. In fact, we would prefer you didn't. Look, this guy's just chilling in a hot tub. He doesn't even know what sport he bet on, and he won money. So go ahead, just open the app and start mashing buttons.
Do you see that, like, in this hot tub scene too? Like, let's go back. He's in a hot
Sport he
tub
bet
with,
on, and he won money.
with like 100 women. Like, what the hell? It's just sending this advertising message of, if you gamble, you're cool. You're gonna get the girls. You're gonna be rich. You don't even have to know anything about sports. Just come and bet, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you know. You still have the same chance of winning, which is actually true. But anyways, back to this.
They got all the money to shell out to these celebrities. Could it be that maybe Prize Picks isn't the secret gateway to riches beyond my wildest imaginations, and maybe they're just trying to get my debit card number so they can take all my disposable income? Whether or not you think sports betting should be illegal, and I'm not even necessarily saying it should be, the fact that they're allowed to advertise it like this is fucking insane. Imagine a cigarette commercial that was like, "Oh my God, this tastes so good. This is the best I've ever felt in my life. I'm on top of the world." Typically the only
Yeah, but that's so fair. That's what it's like. It's like when you see a gambling commercial, it's like, this is the greatest thing of all time. Fireworks, come here. You're going to be the happiest, richest person alive. Oh, yeah. And if you have a problem, call us. Like the way that gambling is advertised, it looks so ridiculous if any other product sought to do the same thing, like Drew's saying here. But when you see it actually play out, that's a fantastic skit. I wish I had thought of it myself. It's just so ridiculous, but you don't feel that way about gambling because it's so normal to see these advertisements.
tobacco ads you see are like anti-vaping PSAs. And I hope there's a future where advertising for betting apps is regulated in a similar way. You can still bet on sports. You can still smoke cigarettes if you want to. It's not illegal, but you're not bombarded with the temptation to do it every time you turn on a basketball game.
That's been my message here on the channel. It's like, you don't have to stop gambling if you don't want to stop. But right now, with the way that it's being thrown at us and literally shoved down our throats, if you're struggling with a gambling problem, it's almost impossible to stop unless you have a really strong plan in place. So seeing these constant advertisements is only causing more damage. And if you want to gamble, go ahead and do it. Why do I have to be reminded of FanDuel's same game parlay every time I want to watch a Phillies game?
Even though it's only been 6 years since the federal ban on sportsbooks was overturned, technology has already evolved well beyond what was available at the time. And now that gambling has gone from being in a place you have to go to do it, to being accessible on your phone at any moment.
It's literally become a meme now that people gamble on the toilet. And that's some of my highest performing TikToks is when I make memes about how I used to gamble when I was in the bathroom. I'd run off and say, oh, I have to use the bathroom real quick. And then I'd just sit in there and play blackjack or spin slots. It's accessible anywhere. And that's why the damage is being done faster than ever before. Casinos like to make the argument, well, it's just the same games. It doesn't really matter where you play them from. But it does, because you can play 24/7. And I was gambling for like 8 hours a day during my gambling addiction.
There's nothing stopping these apps from trying to lure you in constantly, and they're really good at doing that.
Addiction is intensified, he says, by how much the gambling companies know about each user. That data was used to tailor offers and push notifications to keep the guy in action.
They knew the life stage, the customer life stage it was at, so win back, they described it. So people that have given up gambling for a while and they're trying to get them to come back.
Just by using these apps.
So this man that they were interviewing in the 60 Minutes episode, Matt Zarb Cousin, I posted a podcast interviewing him that you can watch right here. But essentially what we were talking about and what he was talking about in this video is that casinos know everything about you. They have hundreds and hundreds of data points on each player. And I said hundreds, like kind of being polite. It's thousands. They know everything about you, and they know exactly what to send you, when to send it to you, and why you're wanting it in terms of promotions and inducements to get you back in.
You're giving them data about your gambling habits, which they can then weaponize against you. If they realize around 2 p.m. every Sunday is when you're most likely to interact with the app because you're watching 19 games at once and you're starting to get a little restless, they can tailor make a push notification just for you. Maybe they'll boost the odds of a third quarter Tyreek Hill touchdown, or they'll show you a parlay that 50,000 other people have bet on, that many people can't all be wrong. Let's talk about parlays for a second.
Let's talk about the 50,000 people thing for just a second before he talks about parlays. This social proof concept is something that gets a lot of people to gamble. It's like when people sell sports picks online, they point to how much money they won or how many people won alongside them. And it's this idea of being biased towards what the public is doing. If so many people are doing it, they can't all be ridiculously wrong about it, can they? Can they? I think they can.
Because I think that's one of the biggest contributors to the exponential rise of sports betting.
It's parlay time.
Put simply, a parlay is when you combine multiple bets into one bet, significantly decreasing the odds of it hitting, but massively boosting the payout you'll win if it does. It's basically the difference between winning a few dollars for correctly calling one coin flip, or winning thousands of dollars if you can get that coin to land on heads 12 times in a row. You're so distracted by the possibility of how much you could win that you're not even considering the fact that you definitely won't. Parlays are the lottery ticket of sports betting, and these apps have made it so easy to make one whenever you want. The only
Parlays are the lottery ticket of sports betting is a really, really smart comment because that's what it is. And the parlay is what drives the majority of the casino sports betting profits. They incentivize you through their promotions to do parlays or same game parlays because they want to make it even less likely that you come out on top. Every bet contains a house edge, so you will lose if you keep gambling. But when they get that house edge to be so high with these parlays, they're raking in the money and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, if one of you wins every 3 weeks, whatever." Because the truth is you're going to lose way more often than you win.
Anything stopping you from putting together a parlay that frankly doesn't even make sense is your own imagination. Because of parlays, I think for a lot of people, gambling has become death by 1,000 paper cuts. Maybe instead of losing a lot of money all at once, you're just losing a little bit of money all the time. Sometimes you'll even lose money in a way that feels like you almost won.
This is called the near miss fallacy, and it's what makes gambling so addictive. It's programmed into slot machines where the real might just be a little bit off from you winning big. But when it comes to sports betting, there's a natural design in the parlays because if you miss by one leg or 1 point, you feel like you almost won. But in the brain of a gambling addict, that actually releases more dopamine than had you actually won. The frustration of almost winning gets you to come back and gamble more than had you actually just won the bet. So these parlays are ingenious because they make a lot of money from doing it and they make you even more addicted to the process of gambling.
Ah, 5 out of 6. I was so close, but that means I'll definitely win next time. My only personal experience with online sports betting was a couple years ago when I saw Underdog Fantasy was offering to match your first deposit up to $100. And I
And when they do those deposit matches, they get to write that off as a marketing expense. So they actually make money by giving away money because they're saving it on their taxes. It's so ridiculous.
thought, okay, I'll give it a try. I watch a lot of football. Maybe I can finally make back some of the money I've spent over the years supporting my stupid, shitty team. So I put in $100. They doubled it. And slowly over the course of the next 2 months, I lost $25 every week until it was all gone. Now, if I'm being honest, I think this was actually best case scenario for me. I consider myself lucky that the few times I've tried gambling, it hasn't gone well for me.
Because when you think about a gambling addict, what often happens is that early on along our process, it was the same for me. We experienced some kind of big win. And that big win is always in our mind as what could possibly happen. No matter how bad the losses are getting, no matter how bad we've been doing recently, well, we won that other time. So we'll be all right. We'll actually be able to get it back. We just got to keep going. And it leads to this false belief, which digs us an even deeper hole, leading us to gamble more because we think it's the only way to get the money out. Terrible, terrible cycle. Losing in the beginning is the best thing that can happen to you when it comes to gambling.
Because I have no positive association with it. In the same way that I have no desire to smoke cigarettes because the first time I did, I smoked 2 back to back for some reason and was nauseous the rest of the night. I have no desire to gamble because I've only ever lost money doing it. So even though Underdog managed to get $100 out of me, I actually think they would have preferred if I won a little bit first. Yes. When betting apps give out these kind of introductory offers, it's not just so they can get a bunch of free money, although that's definitely part of it. They're trying to create a customer for life.
Bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets. $5 get $200 back. $250 up to $500.
Up to $2,000.
Online sportsbooks know that the best way to get people addicted to their product is to make that first big win as easy as possible. So
It's like a drug dealer giving out drugs to a client, right? They get them to try it so that they get hooked to it so that they want more, and then they start to charge them, and then they come in with this bonus offer, or in the drug dealer's case, I guess it would be like a special quantity offer, right? They're getting you hooked to the supply with these free samples or these big boosts in the case of gambling, and it works. It serves as bait on a hook that is reeling you in.
they'll lure you in with an offer that seems too good to be true because all of that is pennies compared to what they're raking in from the people who are hooked. They give you free money to start with. They'll let you try again if your first bet doesn't work. They'll let you throw in one leg of a parlay that has essentially a 100% chance of hitting. They are desperate to make sure you have a good time. They want every time you see that app icon on your phone to think about the rush you felt when you turned $5 into $100, so you keep chasing that feeling forever. I just managed to outsmart them by being so unbelievably bad at sports betting that I never even came close to winning.
Hey, thank God that that happened to you, my friend. I'm really happy to hear that. That's what should happen, right? For some people, it doesn't go that way and it turns into a lifelong addiction. And so just be happy that it went that way because making this video about the experience will be forever more profitable than gambling. I also wanted to talk about one other section from this video that I find to be really important and super relevant to the work that I do. And we're going to be talking about gambling on social media.
It's not just sports, though. It seems like these days you can gamble on absolutely anything. You can bet on celebrity breakups. You can bet on which White Lotus character will return in season 3. You can bet on the presidential election. And oh my God, so many people did. Hundreds of millions of dollars were tied up in political bets this year. And if that's not indicative of a nationwide gambling epidemic, I don't know what is. But I'll admit, I'm a little conflicted about this. Because on one hand, gamifying every aspect of our lives only gives more power to those with influence. It creates a financial incentive for spreading deliberate misinformation. It can make you question the motive behind everything you see and hear. But on the other hand, XQC lost $700,000 betting on the election. He's also one of the many streamers who've massively increased their wealth over the past few years by taking sponsorships from offshore crypto-based online casinos, helping them and the website they stream it on explode in popularity. At almost any point of any day, you can go to the slots tab on kick.com and see someone who is zonked out of their mind, eyes bloodshot red, 12 hours into non-stop slot spins, desperately trying to win back all the money they've lost so far, oftentimes in a situation so dire that even the chat, with no personal stakes involved and only there for entertainment, is begging them to stop. But they can't. They're on autopilot. Every loss is money that needs to be won back, and every win is just more money to gamble with.
So what's happening in this clip is that he's entering what's called the machine zone. Dr. Natasha Scholl wrote a book called Addiction by Design, where she talks about how slot machines were designed to basically make you zone out. Everything around you falls away and you only zone in on the game, hitting that button over and over again to keep getting that pleasure released in your brain. Now it's conflicting here because this very person that's doing it is streaming it and hopefully in his mind getting other people to sign up and gamble.
I randomly opened this guy's stream one day and watched in real time as he won almost $100,000 and then say this.
95K, that's fucking huge. We're a tenth of the way back.
A tenth? This dude was down $1 million on Big Bass Bash? Now, to most people watching, it's pretty easy to say, hey man, you should probably quit while you're ahead. No, 100,000 isn't $1 million, but it's a lot more than zero. The problem is someone in this state of mind isn't capable of seeing it that way. He's not even in Thursday afternoon with the rest of us. He's still on the tail end of Wednesday night. So the rational part of his brain, too subdued to muster anything more than a mumble, asks his chat if he should end it there.
We up the better leave.
They all scream, of course you should, but it falls on deaf ears. He's yet to stop spamming spins for even a second. This man is no longer in control of his actions. He's a zombie, relegated to the passenger seat of his own mind as it careens towards the conclusion everyone watching knows is inevitable. But there's nothing he can do to stop the momentum.
I have to quit. At a certain point, I have to give up. At a certain point, I gotta give up. Oh my God. At a certain point, I gotta give up. Dude, that dog demolished the balance. Oh my God. That's crazy. Lost over.
Oh, damn. Look at the holes in the wall, too. I hope that this isn't an actual example of someone with a gambling addiction, but rather someone that's pretending to have one in order to monetize. My guess is that he is struggling with a gambling problem, but he's making a ton of money from people watching him suffer. So it's kind of a weird situation.
For $1 million today, there's nothing in there.
All he can do now is sit in the reality of what just happened.
What the fuck? Beautiful girl. Dude.
Come to terms with the fact that despite his and everyone else's better judgment, he got doghoused.
Doghouse is what did it. Dude, doghouse is what defeated me. I got doghouse. I got doghouse. I got a full doghouse. Full doghouse, dude. Full doghouse. Full fucking doghouse, dude. Dude. I got doghouse.
No, actually. The thing is, it's hard to take streams like this at face value. There's a very well-documented history of streamers on Kick high-stakes gambling with money that was given to them by the website they're playing on.
Not their money. People are like, how are these streamers making so much money gambling? How do they have so much to gamble? It's the casino's money. Every time.
So not only are the stakes not high, but it's technically not even gambling. It's just promotion. The entire goal of these streams is just to make the people watching them think they too can go win life-changing money on asscoin.com.
But why? Why do they need other people to gamble? What do they gain when someone else signs up?
So maybe this is all bullshit. Maybe the only real thing about these streams are the holes he punched into the wall behind him. Maybe he'll miraculously be back in a couple days with a suspiciously large balance after seeming to lose everything. But clips like this are just the flip side of an online ecosystem currently doing everything it can to convince impressionable teenagers scrolling through TikTok and YouTube shorts that gambling is awesome actually, and you gotta start doing it.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Bang, 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 bang.
That's a great feeling, man.
Now, some people have accused these websites of rigging the odds in favor of the streamers, so it's easier for them to farm these clips. And as far as I'm aware, there's no proof of that. I think the misrepresentation of odds here is simply due to the fact that these websites can just keep depositing money into their accounts whenever they lose, giving them unlimited funds to play with.
Unless Rubot's gonna give me free money, I think that's like actually it. We really just need Howie to give us a ton of free money.
If you're given infinite money, you can just keep betting until you hit a jackpot. For them, there's no such thing as rock bottom. A philosophy that very much does not translate to real life. In real life, you can hit rock bottom, and when you do, there's no texting Howie to get yourself out of it. What's especially concerning about these kinds of streams is that while sports betting apps are at least targeting mostly grown men,
Hypothetically.
the majority audience for a lot of these streamers are teenagers and young adults.
It is so telling when you look at the fact that half the people, and likely this 18 to 24 is probably really skewing younger. The reason is that a lot of these streamers used to stream video games, or they did lifestyle streams, things that would hold a younger audience on, say, Twitch. Now they're transitioning into playing gambling games and casino games, and they're bringing along that same audience and getting them to do what?
Majority audience for a lot of these streamers are teenagers and young adults. People whose brains have not finished developing yet. People who would have a harder time distinguishing between entertainment and real life and have less of an ability to evaluate risk compared to people much older than them. It is statistically proven that people who are exposed to gambling at a young age are more likely to develop problems with it later in life. So maybe don't do this. Is that too much to ask?
Now, there are a few different types of gambling streamers. There are the ones like Adin Ross, who have been very transparent about the fact that money is the only thing that matters to them, and there's no line they would be unwilling to cross in pursuit of it. Then there's streamers like Stevewilldoit, who admitted in an interview with CoffeeZilla that the only reason he started taking these sponsorships was because he used to have a gambling problem, and it was a way for him to continue to gamble without having to use his own money. In other words, he knows from personal experience the harm a gambling addiction can cause, but he has no problem promoting that to other people as long as it's not his money they're losing. But
What do you even say to that? That's so messed up.
And there's also plenty of streamers that don't seem to think they're doing anything wrong. They put their head in the sand and make excuses because the money's too good for them to turn down. Take Nick Merckx, for example. Nick gets pretty defensive when people question the fact that he spends 1 week out of every month spinning slots on kick.com. Oh yeah, man, sorry. Forgot a bunch of children watch my streams. Like, dude, you've spent the past 6 years streaming Fortnite and Call of Duty. If you don't think the majority of your audience is young men, I don't know what to tell you. And don't even get me started on Drake. I know a large portion of his audience is underage because those are the people he's trying to fuck.
So while obviously these websites who use decentralized currency and are based out of a small island country with laughably loose gambling restrictions in order to skirt federal regulations are mostly to blame for the damage they've caused, these celebrities and streamers who've helped popularize them are very much complicit. When you build an audience online, whether you like it or not, there is a parasocial element to it. There are people in your fan base who look up to you and trust you, and every time you sell something to them, you are leveraging that parasocial relationship in order to financially benefit. And I'm not gonna act like I'm perfect. I sell merch, I have sponsors, I just did an ad read like 3 minutes ago. But my God, I feel like the bare minimum with the sponsorship is, does this product actively hurt the people that use it? Yes? Then I'm not gonna do that. I get that it can sting to turn down a lot of money, and if the numbers people have floated around are accurate, it is a stupid amount of money. But for some of these people who could already live 10 full lifetimes without ever having to worry about bills ever again, when is it enough? It's just crazy to me. It's like, thank you to everyone who supports what I do. You've given me my dream job, this life of luxury I'm so lucky to have. And in return, I give to you a crippling addiction. Sorry, I wanted to buy a house in Mexico.
We got another place because you can't do it in America. You have to go somewhere else. So we went somewhere else and we got another place.
Call me dramatic, but I'm a little concerned where this is all headed. People like
The thing that Drew didn't get to touch on in this video is that slot streamers like this, they make money by having you watch their content, of course, ad revenue, subscriptions, these kinds of things, but they also get paid a portion of anyone's losses that signs up to gamble under their affiliate code for the casinos. So this deliberate misinformation that they're spreading that gambling is super fun, super great, and exactly that it's profitable is because the more people they get to do it, the more money they will make as a result. It is in their best interest to sell you the lie that you will come out on top if you gamble, because if you sign up, they get richer. Gambling is super profitable if you get someone else to do it for you. People online telling you to go and gamble have a direct incentive to do so. They're not just sharing it for fun. They are getting you to go and place bets because that is their way of making money. Don't believe everything that you see online. I'm so glad that someone else finally came out and said this because gambling is America's next great epidemic. It is the addiction that is going to take over the country, starting from all this mass advertising, all this online promotion. And it's the only time in history that we've seen that happening to the extent that it's now normal to do it. It is normal to say you're addicted to gambling. And I think that we're heading down a very dangerous path. If you want to hear a story of someone that's in recovery from a gambling addiction, to find out if you really want to go down this path, then check out this video. Let's keep getting better together, one day at a time.